Welcome to the Sleepy Cosmos channel, a place where science and serenity meet. Here we explore the quiet wonders of the universe, from dark matter to string theory, all told in a calm, soothing rhythm designed to help you relax, drift, and dream among the stars. Each video is a guided journey through the cosmos, slow, meditative, and filled with real science wrapped in gentle storytelling. So if you love space, curiosity, and the peaceful side of knowledge, you're in the right place. Make sure to subscribe for more new sleep narrations every week. And if you'd like to reach out for collaborations or business inquiries, you can contact us at the sleepycosmoschannel@gmail.com. Now, settle in, take a deep breath, and let's drift into the universe together. When you look at the night sky, you see only a fraction of what is truly there. Just a thin scattering of stars, sprinkled across the darkness, each one a distant sun, each one surrounded by worlds you cannot see. And beneath that quiet shimmer, the true scale of the cosmos waits, vast, unhurried, almost impossible to grasp. As your breath slows and your body sinks deeper into stillness, you may feel yourself beginning to drift outward, as though your awareness were lifting gently, beyond your room, beyond the earth, into the calm expanse above. Slowly, softly, the familiar world falls away, and you find yourself hovering in the wide, star-filled silence. From here, the galaxy spreads out in every direction, a great spiral of light and shadow, rotating with the patience of cosmic time. There are hundreds of billions of stars in this one galaxy alone, stars arranged in vast, sweeping arms, curving like slow-moving rivers of light, interwoven with dust, nebula, and gravitational tides. Each star is a furnace, a nuclear heart beating in steady, unbroken rhythm, burning hydrogen into helium, glowing with its own unique temperature and color. One star becomes a thousand becomes a million becomes a billion, until the mind can hardly hold the number and gently lets go, allowing awe to replace calculation. As you float here, letting the scale wash over you, you may sense how quietly the galaxy turns, how it moves with a slowness almost like stillness. Every star orbits the center of the Milky Way, not in years but in hundreds of millions of years. Timescales so large that even mountains crumble before a star completes a single circuit. And wrapped around many of these stars are planets, some scorched, some frozen, some wrapped in storms, and some quiet, rocky, mild enough to hold oceans, and atmospheres, and chemistry capable of stirring toward life. We used to think planets were rare, scattered like jewels across a dark floor, but now we know better. We know that planets are everywhere, common, natural, almost inevitable, forming from the same swirling disks of dust and gas that give rise to stars themselves. For every star you can see tonight, there are likely planets orbiting unseen, tiny worlds hidden in the dark, moving in quiet circles around their suns. The Milky Way alone may contain trillions of planets, trillions of chances for habitability, for chemistry, for something to stir in a quiet ocean and begin the long path toward complexity. As your breath settles into a gentle rhythm, you may imagine drifting closer to one of these distant stars, feeling its warmth, watching its planets circle in slow, silent arcs. Some are baked by fierce radiation, their atmospheres stripped away, their surfaces molten or barren. Some are shrouded in thick, choking clouds, their skies dark and storm-laden, their surfaces hidden beneath layers of perpetual twilight. But some are calm, balanced, bathed in just the right amount of light, temperatures mild enough for liquid water to gather, for molecules to meet and interact and form structures more complex than chance alone would create. These are the worlds we call habitable zones, regions where conditions might allow life to arise, not guaranteed, not promised, but possible. And when the galaxy holds hundreds of billions of stars, each with its own spread of planets, its own habitable regions, its own chances for chemistry to awaken, the numbers begin to feel overwhelming. Not frightening, but expansive, like a deep breath drawn across cosmic distances. In such a galaxy, life should be common. It should arise in many places, many times, whenever the conditions align. It should fill oceans, shape continents, construct ecosystems, and perhaps on a few rare worlds, it should begin to look outward, to think, to wonder, to become aware of the stars. And yet, in all this immensity, we do not hear a whisper. You drift through this thought like a feather carried by a quiet wind. You feel its weight, its gentleness, its strange, calming contradiction. The numbers suggest abundance, yet the sky offers silence. The galaxy should be alive with civilizations, yet we find no trace, no signal, no unmistakable footprint of minds beyond our own. The scale of the cosmos deepens the mystery, turning the paradox into a soft puzzle, a quiet enigma wrapped in starlight. You may imagine the galaxy not as a flat map, but as a vast three-dimensional ocean, thick with stars, thick with planets, stretching 80,000 light-years across. Your awareness drifting slowly through it, weightless, calm, floating between suns the way a leaf floats across water. The stars are spaced far apart, distances so immense that even light, the fastest thing in the universe, takes years to cross the gulf between one star and the next. These distances matter. They shape everything. They turn communication into a slow, patient dialogue, one that requires lifespans longer than any species on Earth has ever known. Even if civilizations flourish, their signals may be faint, their lifetimes brief, their voices lost to time. And yet, the probabilities remain. With so many stars, so many planets, so much time, life should arise. It should evolve. It should spread. But as you float here, gently carried through the Milky Way's luminous arms, the vastness feels almost like a paradox in itself. Distances stretch endlessly, timescales lengthen, numbers grow until they dissolve into abstraction, and the question becomes soft again, a quiet murmur in the dark. If the galaxy is so full, why does it feel so empty? Your breath deepens, your thoughts slow. The stars around you glow with unwavering calm. The scale of the cosmos does not overwhelm you. It carries you like a slow, gentle current, drawing you deeper into understanding, deeper into the quiet mystery at the heart of everything. You realize in this drifting state that the puzzle is not only in the silence, but in the enormity that cradles it. The Milky Way is vast beyond measure, and yet you float within it easily, peacefully, held by gravity and imagination, a single awareness drifting through a sea of light. As you drift deeper into the vastness of the galaxy, you may begin to sense how the scale itself shapes the mystery, how the immensity of everything folds quietly into the question we carry. The stars surrounding you are not scattered randomly. They are woven into patterns shaped by gravity, into clusters, into streams, into the long, gentle arms of the Milky Way, each arm curling slowly, deliberately, as though drawn by a hand that moves across millions of years. You float through this spiral structure, watching the light fade at the edges, where stars thin out into darkness, and the halo beyond becomes a soft, grainy blur. The Milky Way is not a flat disk. It is thick, layered, composed of stars of many ages, some newborn in clouds of gas, some ancient and red, their fuel nearly spent. These layers stretch across tens of thousands of light years, forming a structure so vast that even if you traveled at the speed of light, you would need tens of millennia to cross it. And sprinkled throughout this enormous space are regions where stars are forming right now. Quiet nurseries hidden inside cold molecular clouds, where gravity slowly gathers dust, compresses it, ignites it, and forms new suns that will burn for billions of years. This process is slow, unhurried, and continuous, a gentle rhythm of creation that has been unfolding for billions of years before humanity appeared, and will continue for billions more after we are gone. In these nurseries, new stars are born with their own families of planets, their own chances for habitability, their own opportunities for life to emerge. The timescales involved are immense. A human life is a blink, a civilization is a breath, a species is a moment. But a star endures. Many stars live for billions of years, long enough for countless evolutionary processes to unfold, long enough for oceans to shape continents, for chemistry to assemble itself into complexity, long enough for minds to form and wonder and perhaps look up at their own night skies with questions very much like ours. When you float among these stars and feel their lifespans stretching out around you, the probabilities become clearer, more difficult to ignore. If life arises easily, if chemistry is patient, if evolution unfolds wherever it is allowed, then the galaxy should be full of living worlds, full of ecosystems, full of oceans teeming with strange biology, full of atmospheres carrying the fingerprints of metabolism, full of species that come and go across eons, and among them, a few might become aware, might shape tools, might develop language, might begin to study their surroundings, might discover physics, might harness energy, might look beyond their star, and wonder as we do whether they are alone. The numbers suggest this should happen many times, not once, not twice, but across thousands or even millions of worlds. And yet, the vastness remains silent. The contradiction grows sharper in this light, but not loud, never loud, only softly insistent like a quiet wave rolling steadily toward shore. You continue drifting, moving across the spiral arm, past fields of stars separated by light years of darkness, past nebulae glowing like lanterns in the void. Their colors muted and gentle, as though painted with the faintest brush. Distances stretch, their enormity dissolving into something dreamlike, and you feel yourself becoming part of that scale, not overwhelmed by it, but carried by it, like dust gently suspended in a beam of light. With each passing moment, the sheer abundance becomes more apparent. Hundreds of billions of stars in the Milky Way, trillions of planets, countless habitable zones, a universe filled with galaxies like ours, each containing its own billions of stars and worlds. If life is not rare, then minds like ours should be everywhere, everywhere across time, everywhere across space. But the night sky refuses to show us even one. This is where the scale becomes paradoxical. The larger the numbers grow, the more silence feels unexpected. You may imagine drifting far above the galaxy now, seeing it from a vantage point no human has ever experienced. A luminous spiral turning slowly in the darkness, filled with light, filled with worlds, filled with time, and in all that immensity no sign of arrival, no sign of passage, no unmistakable imprint of intelligence spreading across the stars. The quiet becomes profound. Not ominous, not cold, just deeply still, as though the galaxy is waiting, listening, resting in its own vastness. The contradiction softens into a meditation of numbers. If the galaxy holds so many worlds, why don't we see activity? Why don't we detect engineered structures glinting in starlight? Why don't we observe star systems rearranged by advanced technologies? Why don't we hear signals that repeat in artificial rhythms no natural path can produce? You breathe slowly, letting the paradox sink into you the way a distant echo sinks into a canyon. It feels gentle here, not a challenge, not a frustration, just a quiet puzzle embedded in the rhythm of the cosmos. The scale of the Milky Way makes the silence more noticeable, because silence across so many stars feels unexpected. You drift along the galactic arm, passing regions rich in metal, regions rich in hydrogen, regions filled with old red stars, and regions where new blue suns flicker with intense heat. Each region holds planets, each region holds possibilities, and with every passing moment, the probability grows heavier. Life should be common, life should emerge, life should evolve, life should spread. Yet the stars glow with ancient quiet. Their light unchanged, their worlds hidden, their histories unknown. You hover in this realization, letting it wash through you like a slow tide, steady, calming, inevitable. The scale begins to feel like a soft contradiction, a whisper that grows more curious each time you hear it. So many stars, so many planets, so much time, and yet nothing. A galaxy full of potential and empty of confirmation. You breathe, you drift, you rest inside this thought. The immensity does not intimidate you. It comforts you. It gives you space to imagine. It gives you room to dream. The paradox blooms in your mind as quietly as a flower opening at dawn, its petals unfolding one delicate layer at a time. Numbers turn to wonder. Distances turn to silence. Silence turns to mystery. And mystery turns to calm. You float within that calm, in a galaxy so vast that the mind cannot hold it fully, but the heart can feel its soothing presence. In that feeling lies the true puzzle, and the gentle beauty of why the scale of the cosmos makes the silence so surprising. As you drift further into the vast arms of the galaxy, the silence begins to feel almost physical, a soft blanket stretched across thousands of light years, quieting everything beneath it. The stars around you glow with steady calm, each one distant, each one alone, each one encircled by worlds that may never know each other. And in this enormous spread of suns and planets, you begin to sense the heart of the paradox forming, not as a sharp contradiction, but as a gentle, persistent tension woven into the very structure of the cosmos. The galaxy is too large, too abundant, too ancient for silence to feel ordinary. It becomes a quiet weight on the mind, a scientific whisper that suggests something is missing. Because numbers this large rarely leave the world empty. They rarely leave the sky quiet. The more stars you consider, the more worlds you imagine, the more deeply you drift into the spiral of the Milky Way. The stranger the silence becomes. You float among countless stellar systems, each one separated by distances so great that even the fastest signals travel like slow-moving shadows across the cosmic ocean. These distances shape everything. They shape the pace at which civilizations might rise. They shape the spread of technology. They shape the possibility of ever hearing another voice across the interstellar void. Yet even with the distances, even with the patience required to listen, the numbers still lean toward abundance, not scarcity, not emptiness. When you consider the galaxy's structure, its stretched-out spiral arms, its dense central bulge, its halo of ancient stars, you begin to realize that life has had countless opportunities to begin, countless seeds scattered across time and space, billions of years for chemistry to assemble its first fragile threads, billions of years for evolution to climb from simplicity toward complexity, billions of years for a mind to look upward and wonder about the stars. Somewhere in that ocean of time, somewhere in that ocean of worlds, you would expect a civilization to rise, to flourish, to spread, or at least to leave a mark on the galaxy it inhabits. But the Milky Way remains quiet, a spiral of starlight without clear signs of engineering, a canvas untouched by megastructures, a void unbroken by artificial transmissions. The silence becomes its own presence, a soft echo, a steady hum without modulation, a quiet that should not be this complete. You breathe slowly, deeply, as though your breath might fill the space between stars. The scale of the cosmos presses gently against your thoughts, not as something heavy, but as something expansive, something that stretches the imagination without strain. As your awareness drifts, you may imagine yourself hovering in the interstellar dark between two distant suns. The nearest star is so far away that its light arrives faint and softened, a single point in a sky full of other points. You turn your gaze in another direction, and another star awaits you there, and another, each one so distant that it feels isolated in a vast sea of emptiness. And yet this emptiness is full of possibility, because every one of these points, every single star, is a laboratory of physics burning with energy, fusing elements, shaping space-time, and gathering worlds around it like petals around a blossom. When you let yourself drift among them, their abundance rises like a tide. The galaxy contains so many stars that even counting them becomes an exercise in humility, and with each star comes the potential for life. You feel this potential gather around you, quietly, softly, like a constellation forming in slow motion. It is here, in this overwhelming abundance, that the paradox quietly sharpens. Because if life is likely, if chemistry is permissive, if evolution is patient, and if the galaxy has existed for more than 13 billion years, then intelligence should have emerged many times. It should have appeared long before we did. It should have had time to grow, to advance, to spread. Civilizations could have arisen millions of years apart, never overlapping, never touching, except in the faintest signatures left behind in starlight. Yet we detect none. You drift deeper into this contradiction as though floating into the heart of a quiet storm. Nothing about the scale adds up. Nothing about the numbers feels balanced against the silence. The galaxy is too large to be this empty, and too old for us to be this early. The more stars the mind holds, the more worlds the imagination drifts across, the more improbable the silence becomes. Your breath slows again, a soft rise and fall in harmony with the gentle pull of the cosmos. You may picture the Milky Way not as a disk of light, but as a cathedral of distance. Pillars of starlight stretching for tens of thousands of light years, arches of dust floating in dark, weightless layers, vaulted ceilings of gas and dust lit by luminous clusters, and you, a small, curious presence drifting through its echoing halls. If even one civilization rose to technological maturity millions of years before us and chose to spread outward slowly, deliberately, one star system at a time, the galaxy could have been settled many times over. Even at a fraction of light speed, even with immense pauses between each jump, even with civilizations that rise and fall, the numbers lean toward activity, toward evidence, toward signs. Yet the cathedral remains quiet. No distant engines, no reshaped systems, no great works of astroengineering glinting in the dark, just stars and planets and the quiet hum of natural processes. You are floating in the contradiction now, feeling its gentle pressure, like a soft hand resting on your shoulder. The scale of the cosmos and the silence of the cosmos do not sit easily together. They create a tension, a puzzle, a paradox woven into the structure of the Milky Way itself. A galaxy this vast should show signs of life. A galaxy this old should echo with civilizations that rose long before we appeared. A galaxy this populated with planets should contain many worlds where life took hold. But the sky does not reflect this. It reflects only distance, age, light, and silence. A silence too complete to match the numbers. A silence too still to match the probability. A silence too gentle to explain itself. As you drift in this vastness, you feel that mismatch as something soft, something contemplative, something that deepens the quiet rather than breaking it. It is here, in the gap between abundance and silence, that the paradox becomes clear. The universe gives every sign that life should be common, and yet it feels profoundly quiet. This is why the scale makes the question so powerful and so soothing and so strangely beautiful. It is a paradox that invites wonder, not urgency. A paradox that grows softer the deeper you drift into it. A paradox that cradles the mind in the calm of possibility. Life begins in places far quieter than galaxies, in moments so small, so delicate, that the universe itself hardly seems to notice. As you drift in the calm of the cosmic dark, you may imagine descending from the wide arms of the galaxy, down, down, toward a single world, a single ocean, a single microscopic possibility. For all the immensity of space, life's first steps are subtle, quiet chemical murmurs, soft interactions between molecules held together by nothing more than chance and the gentle push of physics. Somewhere in the universe, perhaps on many worlds, perhaps only a few, conditions align in a way that feels almost improbable, but not impossible. Pools rich in minerals, oceans warmed by sunlight or geothermal heat, atmospheres dense enough to protect delicate molecules, yet dynamic enough to let new compounds form. These are the settings where chemistry begins to flirt with complexity. And as you rest, you may feel how small these first steps are, how humble, how unassuming. Life's origin is not a single spark, but a series of quiet transitions, each one building upon the last, over spans of time so long that no creature could witness them. On early Earth, the oceans were warm, turbulent, filled with dissolved minerals and simple molecules. A planetary cauldron where energy and matter mingled endlessly. Lightning struck the atmosphere. Ultraviolet light pulsed through the air. Hydrothermal vents released minerals and heat, and countless chemical reactions unfolded in every direction. It is in these gentle, chaotic interactions that something remarkable occurred. Not all at once, not suddenly, but gradually, the way a coastline shifts under centuries of waves, or the way sand dunes reshape themselves grain by grain. Simple molecules began to form longer chains. Some chains folded into shapes. Some shapes behaved differently than others. Some patterns persisted, and persistence is the beginning of life. As you breathe softly, letting the air drift in and out like a tide rolling across a quiet shore, you may feel the elegance of these early steps. No design, no blueprint, only physics and chemistry moving toward complexity, because complexity can emerge where energy flows and conditions remain stable. These early structures were fragile, temporary, easily broken, easily lost, but over millions of years the patterns that survived became more resilient. The shapes that endured became more relevant. The structures that could replicate became foundations. Life is not sudden. It is patient, and as you drift deeper into this thought, you may imagine these early molecules floating through a warm, ancient sea, colliding, separating, joining, interacting in ways that slowly and subtly increase order. On Earth, life appeared astonishingly quickly after the planet cooled enough to allow liquid water. This rapid emergence suggests that life may not be rare at all, that when conditions are favorable, chemistry naturally explores the path toward biological complexity. And if that is true here, it may be true elsewhere. Across the galaxy, there are worlds with oceans beneath thick atmospheres, worlds with icy crusts and warm subsurface seas, worlds with volcanic landscapes rich in minerals, worlds with rivers of methane and feathery organic compounds collecting in hazy skies. Life could begin in any one of these realms, quietly, gently, without ceremony, because life does not require Earth. It requires opportunity, and the galaxy offers countless opportunities. As you float among these thoughts, your breath slows, your body softens, and the boundaries of imagination expand into the calm. You may picture worlds where chemistry has long since awakened, where microscopic organisms drift through alien oceans, feeding on minerals, splitting, growing, changing. Life that has no eyes, yet senses gradients of heat. Life that has no bones, yet survives in pressures that would crush steel. Life that has no lungs, yet thrives in environments unimaginable on Earth. Such organisms exist here too, on our own planet. We call them extremophiles. Creatures living in boiling springs, feeding on sulfur. Creatures surviving in frozen lakes beneath miles of ice. Creatures enduring pressures thousands of times greater than surface air. Creatures flourishing in radioactive soil, in acidic waters, in darkness so complete that light has never touched them. Life is not delicate. It is adaptable. It finds ways to express itself in conditions we once believed were impossible. This adaptability broadens the map of habitability across the cosmos. It means that life could arise in places we have not yet imagined. Not just Earth-like planets, but worlds with unfamiliar chemistries, with unusual atmospheres, with oceans made not of water but of methane, ethane, ammonia, or hydrogen. Life may be far less fragile than we assumed. As you drift through these possibilities, you may feel the quiet warmth in the idea that life is a natural outcome of matter and energy interacting over long stretches of time. The universe does not resist life. It nurtures it wherever conditions allow. And if life arises easily, if life adapts quickly, if life endures across extremes, then the galaxy should be filled with many beginnings. Many tiny sparks scattered across billions of worlds, some sparks fade. Some sparks survive. Some sparks grow brighter over millions of years. Life is not guaranteed, but it is possible in far more places than we once believed. And this possibility flows softly through the mind like a warm current. You feel it settle into place, a gentle weight, a quiet recognition that life's origins are not confined to Earth, that the universe itself may be predisposed to creating life, again and again and again. In this calm awareness, the mystery deepens. The paradox grows softer, yet more intriguing. For if life begins easily, and if life adapts swiftly, and if life persists in the harshest corners of creation, then why, with all these beginnings, do we hear no voices? You drift with that question, not urgently, not with tension, but with the slow, drifting ease of a mind floating towards sleep. The possibilities unfold like petals, revealing layers of scientific curiosity and gentle wonder. Life's first steps may be common. They may be woven into the fabric of the universe itself. And as you rest in this thought, you feel yourself gently carried further, deeper into the mystery. Life, once begun, carries a kind of quiet momentum, a slow unfolding, a gentle persistence that can stretch across continents and oceans and eons. And as your awareness drifts deeper into the calm of this thought, you may begin to sense how natural the origin of life might be. Not a miracle, not an impossibility, but a transition that matter undergoes when given time and energy and stability. Imagine a world far from Earth, a world orbiting a distant star. Its seas warmed by sunlight or volcanic heat, its sky heavy with vapor, its landscape raw and unshaped. On such a world, molecules might drift in shallow pools, collecting in basins carved by ancient rivers, or settling in cracks along a rocky shoreline, or swirling in the mineral-rich darkness of deep oceans. Each molecule moves with the currents, turning, colliding, forming temporary bonds, breaking apart, reforming again, a slow, ceaseless dance written by the laws of chemistry. Given enough repetitions, enough cycles of day and night, heat and cooling, light and shadow, patterns emerge. Some molecules fold in ways that protect them, some form loops that hold information, some react in ways that help them persist just a little longer than the rest. And persistence is the seed of evolution. As you breathe softly, your mind may follow this idea like a tide pulling gently across the sand. Life begins not with intention but with possibility, not with consciousness but with structure, not with purpose but with tiny advantages accumulated over unimaginable spans of time. And because time is abundant across the universe, and because energy flows wherever stars shine and planets cool, and because simple molecules are found in meteorites and nebulae and interstellar dust, life may not be a rare outcome. It may be a common story repeated across the galaxy, quietly, softly, on worlds we will never touch. Consider the meteorites that fall to Earth even now, carrying amino acids, complex carbon chains, organic molecules formed in ancient interstellar clouds long before our sun existed. These molecules are not from Earth, yet they match what life uses here. They suggest that the building blocks of biology are not limited to one world, not unique to one environment, but widespread. They drift through space in cold darkness, attached to dust grains, baked into comets, woven into asteroids. If the ingredients of life are scattered across the galaxy, like seeds on the wind, then life may begin wherever conditions are calm enough to let those seeds take root. You may imagine a warm subsurface ocean beneath an icy crust, lit not by sunlight but by geothermal glow, or a planet with methane seas and hydrocarbon rains, its sky orange and hazy, its surface carved by chemical rivers, or a world with thick clouds and lightning storms, where simple molecules continually rearrange in electric flashes. On each of these worlds, life might arise with different chemistries, different structures, different possibilities. Life that breathes gases unfamiliar to us. Life that uses solvents other than water. Life that builds itself from materials we would consider toxic. The adaptability of biology expands the definition of what life-friendly means. Here on Earth, deep in the ocean's blackest places, microbes flourish in scalding water rich in sulfur and metals, using chemical gradients rather than sunlight as their source of energy. Elsewhere on Earth, creatures survive in ice that almost never thaws, in radiation levels that would destroy human cells, in salt concentrations that match ancient seas, in acidic pools where the pH is so low that metal dissolves. Life adapts, life persists, life endures in ways we once believed were impossible. And if life can endure such extremes here, why not elsewhere? Why not on planets with atmospheres thick as soup or thin as whispers? Or dominated by gases earthly organisms cannot tolerate? Why not in oceans of ammonia or methane where strange chemistries unfold in slow, alien rhythms? Why not on worlds locked in eternal twilight where one side faces perpetual day and the other eternal night? Life is not a single recipe. It is a process that adapts to whatever environment it encounters, shaping itself to fit the contours of its surroundings. This adaptability suggests that life may begin easily in the right conditions, not because Earth is special, but because chemistry is universal. And as you drift through this thought, you may feel the warmth of a quiet realization. Life may not be an exception. It may be a pattern that emerges whenever the universe grows calm enough for complexity to take hold. If warm oceans and energy flows and organic materials are common across the galaxy, then the spark might not be rare. It might be waiting on countless worlds in quiet seas, in deep oceans, in sheltered pools, in chemical mists, ready to rise into something greater. And beneath this realization lies a gentle, widening wonder. If life can emerge easily, if life adapts powerfully, if life endures fiercely, then the galaxy could be filled with worlds at every stage of biological growth. Some at the threshold of chemistry becoming something more, some thriving with simple organisms, some flourishing with complex ecosystems, and some perhaps awake, aware, curious, listening, wondering about the silence between stars. As you breathe, as your thoughts drift, you may sense how naturally the possibility unfolds. Life's origin is not a singular event. It is a cosmic theme, a quiet motif woven across billions of worlds. And once you recognize that pattern, the paradox grows softer, yet more perplexing. If life begins easily, and adapts readily, and survives in extremes, then why do we not hear even one voice carried across the dark? You drift with that question, as gently as a leaf floating down a slow river, not disturbed, not anxious, simply moving with the calm current of curiosity. The origins of life may be simple, nearly inevitable, scattered across the galaxy like stars themselves, and in that softness you feel the mystery deepen, inviting you to linger, to rest, to wonder, in the quiet where the universe listens. There's a quiet fragility in the idea of life, a recognition that while the universe may offer countless beginnings, very few beginnings grow into something more. And as you drift, resting gently in the calm darkness between stars, you may sense this fragility like a thin thread stretching through cosmic time, strong enough to endure, yet delicate enough to break at almost any point. Life, once formed, must survive a long series of challenges, obstacles written into the laws of physics, into the nature of planets, into the unpredictability of evolution itself. These obstacles are sometimes called filters, steps so difficult, so improbable that most worlds never pass through them. You float with this idea, feeling its quiet gravity drawing you deeper into thought. For while the galaxy may be generous in creating the ingredients for life, it may be far more demanding in allowing life to advance beyond its earliest forms. Imagine a planet where life begins in warm, shallow seas, simple molecules emerging from the slow chemistry of its oceans. Yet before complexity can take hold, the planet freezes for millions of years, or warms suddenly beneath a thickening atmosphere, or loses its magnetic field and is stripped by stellar winds, or is struck by a massive asteroid just as life is learning to replicate itself more reliably. Each of these disruptions is a filter, a quiet boundary that most worlds may never cross. As you breathe slowly and feel the softness of the moment settle over you, you may sense how many delicate requirements must be met for life to continue evolving, not by design, but by chance, not by intention, but by survival. Evolution is not guaranteed. It is fragile. It is patient. It is easily interrupted by geological upheaval, climate instability, stellar flares, planetary drift, and countless other processes that unfold without purpose. You may imagine early life struggling through ice ages, surviving on chemical energy from the deep crust, enduring heat that sterilizes entire continents. Life that continues not because the planet is gentle, but because the simplest forms can endure conditions that would overwhelm anything more complex. This is one kind of filter, the leap from simple life to complex life. A leap that took billions of years on Earth and may succeed on only a small fraction of living worlds. You drift with this thought like a feather floating in still air. If life can begin easily but rarely advances beyond microbes, then the galaxy may be filled with silent oceans, worlds teeming with single cells, worlds rich with chemistry, worlds alive but unaware, worlds that will never speak across the stars. This soft possibility settles into your awareness, not cold, not sad, just contemplative, a recognition that evolution is a long and delicate path, one with many opportunities for silence. But even if a world manages to nurture complex life, the journey is still not complete. Complexity itself must cross further thresholds: the development of multicellular organisms, the emergence of nervous systems, the appearance of mobility, of sensory perception, of intelligence, of technology. Each step is another filter, and each one may eliminate most worlds before they ever grow close to awareness. You may imagine countless planets where intelligence never arises, worlds ruled by forests, or vast oceans, or deserts rich with simple organisms. But no species ever looks up and wonders. No species ever builds tools. No species ever sends signals into the dark. These worlds are quiet, not because life is absent, but because the path to intelligence is steep and narrow, and lined with fragile transitions. And even if intelligence emerges, the journey continues. For intelligence alone does not guarantee survival. Civilizations must navigate their own challenges, their own filters, resource limits, geological instability, climate pressures, technological risks, social collapse, catastrophes from within or from without, forces that can end a society before it ever reaches beyond its home planet. You drift deeper into this thought, letting it settle in soft layers, like sediment accumulating on a calm seafloor. Some civilizations may discover fire but never mathematics. Some may master engineering but never science. Some may learn science but never overcome their planetary limitations. Some may become advanced yet face challenges they cannot solve quickly enough. Each turning point is another filter, a quiet narrowing of possibilities. And as your breath slows, you may feel the weight of this realization, not heavy but expansive, that the universe may be full of life, full of beginnings, full of attempts, yet very few reachable outcomes may lie beyond these filters. And even if a civilization passes every barrier, if it survives and grows and begins to explore, its time is still limited. Stars evolve, planets shift, cosmic radiation flares, galactic tides sweep through regions with destructive power. Civilizations may face threats that arise long after they achieve awareness, filters that appear millions of years into their lifespan, filters that even advanced minds may struggle to overcome. You drift in this quiet understanding, feeling the fragility and the resilience interwoven through life's journey, a journey so long, so uncertain, so delicate, That even in a galaxy rich with life, very few might survive long enough to be heard. Perhaps a handful, perhaps none, perhaps one, and perhaps that one is us. This possibility does not bring fear. It brings softness, a gentle sense of how precious awareness is, how fragile, how improbable, how wondrous. You rest in that wonder, feeling it expand like a warm glow in the dark. Life may begin easily, but consciousness, technology, survival, these may be rare, rare enough that silence is the natural sound of the galaxy, rare enough that our presence is exceptional, rare enough that the filters are not behind us, but ahead. And as you drift further into stillness, you feel the paradox deepen, not as tension, but as calm curiosity, a quiet hum in the darkness, inviting you to listen, inviting you to wonder, inviting you to drift deeper into the mystery. There is a stillness that settles when you consider how delicate a civilization truly is, not fragile in the way a leaf is fragile beneath a winter wind, but fragile in the way a pattern is fragile, a constellation of choices and conditions that must remain stable for intelligence to endure. You may imagine a civilization much like our own, standing on a world full of oceans and continents, filled with species and weather and delicate balances. A world that has already passed countless filters to reach awareness, and yet, even here, the path forward remains narrow. For once a species develops technology, once it gains the power to alter its environment more quickly than evolution can respond, a new set of filters begins to appear. These filters are not geological, they are not chemical, they are not bound by the slow patience of biology, they are created by intelligence itself. A civilization becomes capable of shaping its planet, of exploiting resources, of consuming energy at scales unimaginable to earlier life. And with this capability comes risk. Risks that emerge quietly, gradually, over centuries. Risks that unfold from decisions made not with malice, but with short-sightedness or necessity or misunderstanding. Risks that are almost invisible until they have grown too large to avoid. You may imagine a world warming beneath the accumulation of its own industry. Forests thinning, oceans changing, climates shifting in ways that outpace the civilization's ability to respond. Or a world where resources are drawn faster than they can renew, where the appetite for growth exceeds the limits of the planet's generosity, where the stability that life depends on begins to fracture. These stresses are filters. Quiet, not sudden, not dramatic, but powerful. Filters that require wisdom as much as science, patience as much as intelligence, and civilizations may struggle to find the balance in time. You drift with this thought, feeling its weight gently, softly, settling into place like dust in a beam of light. A civilization might advance to a certain threshold, build cities, craft tools, observe the stars, yet never develop the unity or restraint needed to survive its own capabilities. Some may dissolve into conflict, their progress turned inward rather than outward, their energy spent on division instead of exploration, their knowledge used in ways that diminish rather than expand. This is another filter, not a catastrophic event, but a gradual unraveling of cooperation, a collapse from within. And as you breathe slowly, feeling each inhale rise like a gentle tide and each exhale fall like a receding wave, you may sense the truth behind this idea. Survival is not guaranteed by intelligence alone. Intelligence allows possibility. Wisdom allows endurance. And wisdom may be rarer. Yet even if a civilization overcomes internal challenges, even if it stabilizes its world, manages its resources, and reaches a quiet peace, the universe itself may present further filters. A star that brightens beyond habitable limits, a magnetic field that weakens, a planet drawn slowly out of equilibrium, or cosmic dangers that arrive without warning, gamma-ray bursts, nearby supernova, rogue asteroids, or long cycles of geological instability. For even with brilliant minds and advanced tools, a civilization may struggle to protect itself against events that occur only once in a billion years, yet once is enough. You drift deeper into this recognition. Every civilization lives inside a window, fragile, precious, a span of time where conditions allow awareness to bloom, and that window can close for countless reasons. Some closures are sudden, fiery, catastrophic. Others are slow, quiet, gradual, subtle declines that go unnoticed until the last moment. When we imagine civilizations across the galaxy, it is tempting to picture them thriving, building great structures, spanning the stars, but the filters suggest that very few reach such stages. Not because the universe is harsh, but because the journey is exquisitely complex, a sequence of improbabilities stacked one upon another, each requiring success, stability, and time. And as your breathing slows, as your body grows heavier, as your awareness grows softer, you may feel a kind of humble awe, a recognition that our own existence is already improbable. A recognition that the silence we hear in the cosmos may not be mysterious. It may be expected. It may be the natural outcome of a universe filled with beginnings, but very few completions. A universe where life often starts, but rarely continues. Where civilizations often rise, but seldom endure. Where countless lights may have flickered, but gone out before their signals ever reached another world. This is not a dark thought. It is a gentle one. It invites gratitude, awareness, a deeper appreciation for the delicate balance that allows us to exist, to think, to wonder, to listen into the quiet. And as you feel this calm expand, you may sense one last possibility, a filter not behind us, not above us, not around us, but ahead, a threshold that civilizations reach when they begin to explore the stars, a moment when they must decide how to use power that can reshape worlds, a moment when they must transcend the limitations of their origins, not scientifically, but ethically. If this filter exists, it is the rarest of all, for it asks not for intelligence, but for wisdom that extends beyond the individual, beyond the nation, beyond the planet, wisdom on a cosmic scale. Few civilizations may reach such a point. Fewer still may pass it. And those that do, if any exist, may be the quiet ones, the ones who have learned to survive in silence, to endure without conquering, to expand without destroying, to listen without shouting, a pattern very different from the one we often imagine. You breathe softly, feeling the edges of sleep draw closer, feeling your thoughts drift like clouds over a calm ocean. The great filters are not obstacles in the traditional sense. They are the natural contours of a universe where life must thread a narrow path, a universe patient enough to allow beginnings, but selective enough to keep most of them quiet. And as that quiet wraps around you, you feel yourself drifting deeper, softer, carried gently by the vastness of possibility and by the even greater vastness of the unknown. There is a quiet irony woven into the fabric of the universe. For while life may arise with gentle ease in countless places, complex life may require a far more fragile balance, a delicate combination of conditions so specific, so improbable, that only a small number of worlds may ever nurture it. As you drift deeper into the stillness of this moment, you may imagine the universe as a vast field of possibilities. And on that field, only a few rare spaces allow the next step beyond simple biology. Imagine walking through a quiet forest at night, the ground beneath you soft with fallen leaves, the air cool, the path dim, and scattered across the darkness a few tiny lanterns glow, far apart, delicate, but shimmering in the vast quiet. Complex life may be like these lanterns, precious, uncommon, dependent on conditions that rarely align. Begin with the star a world orbits. Not all stars are equal. Some flare violently, sending bursts of radiation that sterilize their planets. Some burn too hot, too bright, living fast and dying young before life has time to grow beyond its earliest forms. Some burn too dimly, forcing their planets to orbit so close that tidal forces tear at them, locking them in perpetual dayside heat and nightside cold. Only a narrow class of stars live long enough, stable enough, quiet enough to nurture the slow process of biological complexity. Stars like our sun, not too large, not too small, not too variable, a star that whispers instead of shouting and allows life to breathe. And even if such a star is found, the planet itself must carry its own rare attributes. You may imagine a world forming from the dust around a newborn star, a chaotic realm where collisions shape continents, where molten surfaces cool, where oceans condense from vapor in the sky. Most planets never stabilize enough to host complex ecosystems, their surfaces locked in ice, or scorched by heat, or torn repeatedly by impacts from wandering debris. But if a world is lucky enough to cool gently, and if oceans form without boiling away, and if an atmosphere develops that shields and nurtures, the story continues. Yet stability requires more than atmosphere. Beneath a planet's surface lies its heart, its core. And if that core remains hot, if its interior remains dynamic, it may generate a magnetic field, a quiet, invisible bubble that protects its surface from the relentless stream of charged particles flowing from its star. Without such a field, atmospheres are stripped, oceans evaporate, and biology retreats into shadows or vanishes entirely. A magnetic field is one of the rarest gifts a planet can offer. Earth has one. Many worlds do not. And even with this protection, the planet must still maintain a delicate balance within its crust. Plate tectonics, the slow drift of continents, continual recycling of minerals, the rise of mountains, the sinking of seafloors, these processes regulate climate over geological timescales. Without plate tectonics, carbon cannot cycle efficiently, climates may drift into extremes, and complex life may never find stability. Earth's moving crust keeps its atmosphere breathable, its oceans stable, its temperatures moderated across millions of years. It is a quiet engine of habitability, and one that may not exist on most planets. As you breathe gently, you may feel the subtle truth in this idea. Life requires energy. Complex life requires stability. Stability is the rare part, and yet the story is still more delicate. For even with a stable crust, a magnetic field, a gentle star, and oceans that endure, a planet may still need something more. A guardian, a protector, a massive companion world whose gravitation deflects dangerous debris, sweeping the space around it like a cosmic broom, reducing the number of catastrophic impacts that could wipe life away. In our solar system, that guardian is Jupiter. Its immense gravity alters the paths of comets, redirects asteroids, and reduces the frequency of planet-sterilizing collisions. A world without such a shield may face a heavy bombardment for much longer, long enough that complex life never gains a foothold. And still there is yet another ingredient, the moon. Not just any moon, but a large one. Earth's moon is enormous relative to the planet it orbits. Its gravitational pull steadies Earth's rotation, preventing wild, chaotic tilts that could swing climates from frozen extremes to unbearable heat. The moon keeps Earth's seasons balanced, its climate stable, its oceans stirred in gentle rhythms. Without such stability, complex life may struggle to adapt. As these ideas drift through you, each one soft, each one layered like gentle waves, you may sense how improbable this combination really is. A quiet star, a stable orbit, a protective magnetic field, plate tectonics, a planetary shield like Jupiter, a large stabilizing moon, and billions of years without catastrophic interruption. It is a recipe with many ingredients, but no guarantee that any given world will possess them all. Complex life may require a chain of cosmic coincidences, each one unlikely, each one essential, and only when they align does the lantern glow. A rare Earth in a vast universe. This does not mean we are alone, only that worlds with rich ecosystems, with forests and oceans, with creatures that think and dream, may be scattered far more sparsely than simple life. They may be distant, isolated, separated not only by space, but by rarity. A rarity that softens the paradox and explains the quiet. As you breathe slowly, gently, letting sleep draw nearer, you may feel the wonder of this delicate balance, a balance that has existed here for billions of years, long enough for awareness to bloom, for intelligence to rise, for a species to ask questions of the stars and to listen into the silence. The universe does not forbid complexity, but it does not offer it generously. And perhaps that is why the night sky feels so still, not because life is absent, but because life like ours is rare, the product of a million quiet alignments, a million patient years, a million gentle chances taken by nature, until one world found the right balance and opened its eyes. There is a quiet possibility that drifts through the mind when we contemplate the silence of the stars, a possibility not rooted in emptiness or absence, but in observation, a possibility that we are not alone, not unheard, not unseen, but simply uninterfered with. You may imagine a young planet glowing softly beneath its star, blue oceans swirling, continents forming, clouds drifting across its sky, a world rich with life but still in its early stages. A world watched from the distance by eyes far older than its first species. Not eyes of flesh, but the awareness of civilizations that have endured long enough to witness the rise of many worlds. Civilizations that have grown wise with time and patient with experience. This is the essence of the idea that drifts like a gentle breeze through cosmic speculation, the thought that advanced civilizations may choose to watch but not touch, to observe but not guide, to remain hidden out of respect or caution, or perhaps because they understand that contact changes everything. As you drift into this thought, you may sense the quiet logic behind such restraint. When we on Earth study animals in the wild, we step carefully. We hide our scent, lower our voices, keep our distance, not because we dislike them, but because we know that too much interference alters their behavior, changes their patterns, impacts their evolution. We build sanctuaries, protected zones where the creatures can live without intrusion, places where observation must be gentle, quiet, and responsible. Now imagine a civilization millions of years older than our own, a civilization that views younger species as we view the creatures of our forests, our oceans, our savannas, with curiosity, with respect, and with a deep understanding of the fragility of natural development. They might watch from afar, careful not to disturb, allowing young civilizations to grow at their own pace, to make mistakes, to learn, to evolve, because they know that interference too early can distort a world's trajectory, can collapse a culture, or accelerate it in unhealthy ways. You may picture ancient vessels stationed at the edges of star systems, not approaching, not signaling, only observing, like quiet guardians at the boundary of a preserve. Or you may imagine technology so advanced that it needs no vessels at all. Tiny probes hidden in the dark, camouflaged against starlight, or systems embedded within the fabric of space itself, watching without revealing, waiting without pushing, present without intruding. As your breath softens and the space around you quiets, you may sense how natural this kind of patience would be for a species far older than ours. For in the long timelines of the galaxy, our entire history is a flicker, a moment, a soft spark against the dark. A civilization that has endured for millions of years would have no urgency in contacting us. They could wait centuries as easily as we wait minutes, millennia as easily as we wait hours. Their sense of time would be different, their understanding of risk more mature, their grasp of fragility far deeper. They might see humanity as a species in its adolescence, curious, energetic, full of potential, but not yet stable, not yet ready to be introduced to the larger universe, not yet capable of understanding what contact would bring. And if they felt that the healthiest path for a young civilization is to grow on its own, without outside influence, then silence would become an act of respect, a kind of cosmic courtesy, a way of honoring our natural development, just as we, at our best, honor the natural development of the species we protect. You drift deeper into this thought, feeling its softness wrap around you, a gentle reassurance that silence does not always mean absence, that quiet does not always signify emptiness, that stillness can be intentional. Perhaps they are there, in the long shadows between stars, watching with patience, waiting for a moment when contact would not harm, but help. A moment when we have learned to navigate our own challenges, to care for our world, to grow past our conflicts, to see ourselves as one species sharing a fragile planet, a moment when we are ready for the responsibility that knowledge brings. It may be that such civilizations are rare, and that those who survive long enough to reach maturity also learn that silence is the wisest path. Some may remain quiet to avoid influencing us. Others may remain quiet to avoid being noticed by civilizations less peaceful than themselves. And some may simply understand that every world must write its own story, free of external hands, free of premature guidance, free of forces that might accelerate it beyond its natural pace. You feel this idea settle softly, like dust on a still pond. Each civilization grows best when given time, space, and the freedom to rise on its own. Perhaps we are inside that freedom now, growing, learning, changing, under the quiet watch of those who choose not to be seen. And as you drift towards sleep, you may sense the profound calm in this possibility, that we are not alone, not ignored, not forgotten, simply allowed to become. There is a quiet unease that settles into the mind when we think of the universe as a place filled with watchers, not absent, not indifferent, but cautious. A universe where civilizations do not announce themselves, not because they cannot, but because they choose silence as a form of survival. You may imagine a vast, ancient forest beneath a moonlit sky, a place where countless creatures live, yet none call out, none stir the air with unnecessary sound. Each one aware that sound travels, and that to be heard is also to be found. Now lift this forest from the ground and place it among the stars, a quiet cosmic woodland stretching across hundreds of billions of suns, where every civilization is both a listener and a potential threat, where silence becomes a kind of wisdom and communication a dangerous risk. This is the essence of a certain view of the cosmos, a view that suggests the quiet we hear is not mysterious, but intentional. As your breath softens, slow and steady, you may sense the subtle logic inside this idea. For in a universe so vast, so ancient, so full of unknown minds, the safest choice may be to remain unseen. Civilizations that reach a certain level of technological power might realize that sending signals into the dark is not merely an invitation for connection, but an invitation to be discovered. And in the cosmic scale of time and distance, discovery does not necessarily mean dialogue. It may mean vulnerability. Imagine two civilizations evolving light years apart, each one unable to know the intentions of the other, each one aware that even a small technological advantage can become overwhelming across centuries, each one living with the uncertainty of what others might do with knowledge of their existence. In such a universe, the first instinct might be silence, not hostility, not fear, just a calm, cautious stillness, a decision to observe but not announce, to watch but not signal, to exist beneath the canopy of cosmic shadows. You drift into this idea, feeling its subtle shape fill your thoughts like a soft whisper. There is no malice in the silence, only prudence, and prudence is a form of wisdom. Civilizations that announce themselves loudly might not endure long, while those that stay quiet, patient, observant may last. Perhaps the galaxy favors the civilizations that behave like creatures in a still forest, avoiding unnecessary noise, moving carefully, attuned to every ripple in the dark. You may imagine advanced societies with detectors far more sensitive than anything we possess, able to sense the energy signatures of distant worlds, able to map the behavior of stars, the pulses of worlds, the flicker of technologies, all from light years away. Such civilizations would not need to shout to be aware. They would listen, and the more they listen, the more they might realize that remaining quiet is the safest path. You may picture a world thousands of light years distant, its cities advanced, its science mature, its people wise from ages of history, and yet its skies remain dark. No radio signals leak into space, no beams of energy sweep across the stars. Its presence is silent, not out of fear, but out of understanding. For the universe may be an ancient place with long memories, and history may favor the unseen. As you drift deeper into this thought, you may sense how natural this behavior is. Even on Earth, animals that survive longest in uncertain environments often remain silent, camouflaged, aware, listening more than they speak. It is a pattern woven through evolution, an instinct written into survival itself. And civilizations may be bound by similar instincts, not biological but logical, not instinctive but statistical, a recognition that contact requires certainty, and certainty is rare in a universe so vast. This does not mean other civilizations are hostile, only that they are cautious, deeply, wisely cautious. A caution born not from anxiety, but from the profound mathematical recognition that encounters between unequal civilizations could be unpredictable, that misunderstandings could grow quickly, that intentions could be misread, that outcomes could spiral, not out of malice, but out of complexity. In this vision of the cosmos, silence is not a threat, it is a gesture of restraint, maturity, and patience. Perhaps civilizations do not destroy one another, they simply avoid announcing themselves, choosing to observe and wait, allowing time to smooth the edges of young species, allowing growth to unfold naturally, allowing the universe to remain quiet. You may feel this quiet settling around you now, a slow, deep stillness that feels neither ominous nor empty, only vast. A stillness that suggests you are curled at the edge of something ancient, something filled with watchful minds, not intrusive, not threatening, just cautious, just silent. Because silence in a dark forest is not the sound of fear, it is the sound of care, care for continuity, care for survival, care for balance among unknown neighbors. And as your awareness softens, as sleep draws near, you may feel the paradox dissolve, not with answers, but with understanding. The understanding that silence is a natural solution to uncertainty, and that in a universe filled with listeners, the wisest voice may be no voice at all. Across the quiet oceans of space, scientists listen. They listen not with their ears, but with instruments that stretch the senses far beyond what biology allows. Machines that can hear whispers of energy moving through the cosmos, machines that can notice a trembling in starlight, a pulse in a spectrum, a pattern too deliberate to belong to nature alone. These gentle acts of listening are among the most patient endeavors humans have ever attempted. For in the vastness of the universe, the faintest clue could be everything. And so we search for something subtle, something precise, something that reveals the touch of intelligence, a technosignature. You may imagine a radio telescope standing beneath a wide, silent sky, its dish curved like a silver moon, collecting waves that have traveled for centuries before touching metal. Inside its gentle arc, light slows, energy gathers, data begins to form. A single radio photon may have drifted through clouds of dust, past the gravitational pull of wandering worlds, across the spiral arms of our galaxy, before arriving in a quiet valley on Earth, falling silently onto a machine that converts cosmic murmurs into numbers and numbers into meaning. For decades, humans have pointed these telescopes toward the heavens, not merely to hear stars, but to sense the possibility of minds. Every frequency is a thread to unravel, every spike of energy a question, every pattern a story waiting to be heard. Natural processes fill the sky with noise, pulsars spin, quasars flare, stars sing in nuclear harmonics. And yet within this cosmic orchestra, researchers look for signals that do not belong, signals that are too narrow, too ordered, too precise, signals that hint at engineering. A civilization seeking to communicate might choose radio waves for their reach, their durability, their ability to cross unimaginable distances with little loss. And so we watch the radio sky, patiently, methodically, with instruments that sweep across frequencies the way an explorer might sweep a lantern through a cavern, illuminating small fragments of possibility. You may feel the slowness of this search, the gentle rhythm of time moving forward with quiet purpose, a science built on waiting. But radio waves are only the beginning. Now imagine a pulse of laser light traveling straight and narrow through the dark, a beam so coherent that a single misalignment would let it fade into the endless night. A message written in photons, traveling faster than any radio pattern could scatter, a sparkle of intention from a distant world. Some scientists have begun watching the sky not for broad signals, but for the pinprick brightness of a laser flash, an artificial gleam bursting for an instant and then dissolving into the void. Such a flash would be unmistakably engineered, too sharp, too fast, too exact to emerge from the physics of stars alone. And so new instruments wait in the dark, quiet lenses trained upward, ready to catch a single unnatural glimmer. Then there are the grander possibilities, structures so immense that they would reshape the light of an entire star. A civilization with energy needs beyond anything we can imagine might build a shell, a swarm, a vast lattice of collectors and machines, a Dyson sphere or something like it, drinking in starlight to power technologies that span planets. These megastructures would cast shadows in the spectrum, altering the brightness of the star, changing the color of its light, leaving fingerprints on the photons we receive. Astronomers scan millions of stars looking for such anomalies, dips in brightness too smooth or too irregular to be caused by planets alone, shadows that feel more like engineering than nature, subtle hints that someone may be rearranging matter on a colossal scale. And still the search continues, not only for structures, but for atmospheres, for the breath of worlds. If a distant planet held life moving through technology, its air might contain chemicals out of balance, industrial gases not produced by geology, signals rising quietly from its clouds. We examine the colors of exoplanets, thin strands of light passing through atmosphere, spread into spectra like a rainbow pulled apart, looking for compounds that should not be there. Methane with oxygen, nitrogen with pollutants. Strange molecules that do not fit the natural chemical story of a barren world. These atmospheric clues are gentle, fragile, easy to miss, but they might reveal the first soft sign of technology. Perhaps some distant civilization has factories, or energy systems, or processes that leave traces in the air, tiny hints carried on starlight across unimaginable distances. It is a delicate science, built on patience, careful measurement, and a quiet hope that something unexpected will appear. And through all of this runs a thread of wonder, a sense that we are not just listening for others, but listening to understand ourselves. Every search is an act of humility, a recognition that intelligence could arise elsewhere, that technology is not unique to Earth, that the universe may be filled with creativity far beyond our imagination. And yet, with all our listening, with all our watching, the sky remains silent, not empty, not barren, just silent. The silence is a canvas on which we paint our curiosity, a quiet field where we plant questions instead of seeds, letting them grow in the soft soil of possibility. Each unanswered signal deepens the mystery, but also the calm. For in the silence there is something soothing, a reminder that the universe is vast enough for patience, vast enough for time to unfold at its own pace, vast enough to hold secrets without urgency. Our instruments continue to listen, generation after generation, with each decade bringing sharper sensors, wider surveys, longer exposures, and yet the feeling remains gentle, not desperate, not restless, just steady. The act of searching is not a race, it is a meditation, a long, quiet breath drawn across centuries. You may feel that breath now, slow and deep and serene, as though the universe itself is inhaling and exhaling, in rhythms too long for humans to measure. The search will continue, as softly as starlight travels, as slowly as galaxies turn, a patient quest for traces of minds. And perhaps one day, a pattern will appear, a spike in a spectrum, a whisper of photons, a chemical imbalance, something small yet extraordinary, a clue that we are not alone. Until then, we listen. Time moves differently when the universe becomes your frame of reference. Human lives unfold in the span of decades, civilizations in the span of centuries or millennia. But galaxies breathe in rhythms so slow that even the deepest patience feels hurried beside them. In moments like this, as you settle deeper into rest, you may feel that difference, the softness of a scale beyond human tempo, a slowness that invites your breath to match it. The cosmos has been unfolding for more than 13 billion years, and life on Earth is only a recent whisper in that immense story. If intelligence elsewhere in the universe follows similar paths, then our arrival is not early or late, just part of a rhythm so long that no single species can feel its boundaries. Civilizations may rise, create wonders, reach for the stars, and then fade like patterns in the tide. Others may emerge millions of years later, never knowing who came before them. And across such timescales, the silence we hear today might not be silence at all, but simply two civilizations missing each other by epochs. Perhaps a great empire of thought and technology flourished when Earth was still cooling. Perhaps they built machines that turned starlight into language. Perhaps they filled their corner of the galaxy with signals and color and luminous architecture. And all of it might have dissolved long before humans took their first breath. The distance between civilizations is not only measured in light years, but in time. Two intelligent species may live in neighboring star systems, yet if their peaks do not overlap, if one arrives 10 million years after the other, their skies will feel equally silent. The universe is vast enough for intelligence to be abundant, and yet for encounters to be rare. You may imagine a desert so large that thousands of travelers cross it over millions of years, but never meet. Each leaves traces, footprints, structures, stories, but wind and time erase them before the next traveler arrives. Civilizations may be like that, isolated not by malice or caution, but simply by the geometry of deep time. Even if intelligent life is common, their signals might not last. A radio broadcast could drift for centuries, but not forever. Stellar winds disperse it, interstellar dust absorbs it, the shape of the signal stretches and fades, until what remains is indistinguishable from background noise. Light moves fast, but time is faster. A civilization might speak loudly for 1,000 years, and then fall silent, leaving its echo to decay before reaching listeners across the galaxy. And so we listen not only for the living, but for the traces of civilizations long gone. A megastructure might survive for millions of years, a Dyson swarm drifting like a metal cloud, circling a star that has forgotten its makers. We might detect its shadow, its imprint on starlight, long after the builders have vanished. In this way, astronomy becomes archaeology, a gentle search through the ruins of cosmic history, looking not for voices but for footprints left in the light. Some scientists suggest that we may be early. In the long future of the universe, stars much smaller than ours will burn for trillions of years, stable, steady, long-lived, providing calm environments where life might flourish with time to spare. Humans and all life on Earth might exist before the universe is truly ready for biology to bloom. If so, the silence around us is not a warning, but a head start, a gentle space in which we are among the first sparks of awareness, the early listeners in a universe that will one day be filled with minds. Others propose the opposite, that we are late, that the galaxy has already seen great civilizations rise, that waves of intelligence have come and gone, and what remains is the quiet after a long chorus. If this is true, then the silence is not emptiness, but aftermath, the calm following millennia of activity we never witnessed. In both possibilities, the silence feels different. In one, we are pioneers in a cosmos still waking up. In the other, we are inheritors of a galaxy that once sang. But in both, the sky remains quiet, not because nothing exists, but because the universe moves slowly, far more slowly than any species can truly comprehend. You may feel that slowness now, the way time stretches when you look at distant stars, light that began traveling before humanity existed, before cities, before oceans settled, light older than memory, older than language, arriving in this moment, falling softly into your eyes or onto the mirrors of a telescope. To watch the night sky is to look into the past. To imagine alien civilizations is to imagine stories unfolding across epochs, stories that begin and end in the spaces between stars. Time is the great filter, not by destruction, not by catastrophe, but by sheer scale. Two civilizations may be separated not by distance but by millions of years, their signals passing like ships in the night, never crossing at the right moment. And so we search patiently, knowing that the answers may not arrive quickly, but trusting that patience itself is part of the journey. The universe teaches patience through its stars, some burning in furious brilliance, others glowing softly for trillions of years, each one an emblem of long, slow change. When we look ahead to the far future, the scales become even larger, stars drifting through galaxies, galaxies drifting through clusters, clusters drifting through filaments, cosmic structures shifting in almost imperceptible ways over billions of years. And within this slow ballet, civilizations are brief candles, bright, curious, self-aware, but momentary, unless their reach grows, unless their mastery of energy allows them to spread from star to star, not quickly, not dramatically, but slowly, in a way that matches the tempo of the universe. A single species could fill the galaxy in tens of millions of years, not through conquest, but through gentle expansion, drifting with patience, settling worlds, building habitats, exploring space like a slow-moving tide. 10 million years is a blink to a galaxy, but to a species, it is an eternity. To imagine such futures is to imagine beings who think not in years or centuries, but in cosmic seasons, in ages, epochs, cycles. It is to imagine minds shaped by patience. And perhaps the silence we hear is simply the quiet between movements, a pause in a symphony still unfolding. You may feel that cosmic pause settling around you, like drifting starlight, soft, gentle, timeless. As you relax deeper, you become part of that vast rhythm, a small consciousness floating within an ocean of time. And in that ocean, it becomes easier to see the paradox not as a contradiction, but as a reminder of scale. The universe is so old, so wide, so slow, that silence is not surprising. It is expected. Not a wall, but a space into which future civilizations may eventually speak. If intelligence is young, if we are early, then the silence is simply the universe clearing its throat. If intelligence is ancient and we are late, then the silence is the last echo of civilizations long past. Either way, the quiet holds wisdom and a certain peace, a peace that stretches across millions of years, that invites us to breathe slower, to imagine broader, to dream in cosmic units. And so you drift with that rhythm, letting the idea of deep time wash gently through your thoughts, softening everything, slowing everything, opening space for wonder. Curiosity is one of the quiet engines of the human mind, a gentle force that keeps reaching beyond the horizon, beyond the next discovery, beyond the next star, as if something within us has always been drawn toward the unknown. In the stillness of night, when the world slows down, that curiosity becomes softer, more reflective, more like a whisper of possibility than a shout of ambition. And in that quiet, a thought emerges, a simple thought, that perhaps the reason the universe feels silent is because the storytellers have not yet arrived. Or maybe we are the storytellers. a species in its earliest moment of awakening, learning to understand its own planet, its own star, its own place in the vast map of the galaxy, and beginning to imagine paths that extend far beyond Earth. Humanity has only just begun to lift its eyes toward interstellar space. We are infants on the cosmic scale. New minds exploring ancient stars, new voices attempting to speak into an ocean of silence. Yet even in our infancy, we have already launched machines that drift beyond the planets. Voyager, Pioneer, New Horizons, each one a tiny messenger, a seed of human curiosity carried into the deep. Not fast enough to reach other civilizations, not powerful enough to transform the stars, but symbolic, the first small gestures of a species learning to walk among worlds. If humanity endures, if we learn to create stable societies, to harness energy wisely, to explore calmly, patiently, across centuries, then our descendants may one day cross the interstellar gulf. Not quickly, not in great leaps, but in slow, steady expansions, the kind that match the tempo of the universe. Perhaps our future civilizations will send habitats drifting through space, slow arcs carrying millions of lives, or unfold solar sails that catch the faint pressure of starlight, or build engines that travel a fraction of light speed, not rushed, not desperate, but confident, measured, timeless. In such a future, the galaxy becomes not an unreachable expanse, but a long journey taken in careful steps. Humanity could cross it in 10 million years, a vast span to us, but a brief chapter in cosmic history. And in doing so, we would become not only explorers, but the very beings other civilizations wonder about. We would become the answer to the paradox. A species that began on a small blue world, that listened to the silence, that wondered where everyone was, and then became the presence that fills the silence. The whisper that travels through stars, the footprint left on distant moons, the visitor to planets still waking from ice ages, carrying knowledge, stories, languages, shaped by a history that began on Earth. In this possibility, humanity becomes one of the ancient species that future astronomers dream about, one of the mysterious civilizations that left traces in the sky. A species that appears to other beings as old, wise, unfathomably distant, even though we were once fragile creatures learning how to hold fire, learning how to listen to the stars. And perhaps as we travel, we will discover worlds where life has only just begun, small oceans rich with chemistry, atmospheres thick with early storms, places where evolution is still a gentle, slow-moving dream. We may observe them, protect them, leave them untouched, the way humans preserve rare ecosystems, honoring their solitude, letting them grow in their own time. Or perhaps we will encounter civilizations just beginning to ask the same questions we ask now, just beginning to build radio telescopes, just beginning to wonder why the sky is so quiet. And to them, we would be the ancient ones, the ones who have traveled far, who carry the accumulated memory of millennia. In that reflection, a delicate responsibility emerges. If humanity becomes the visitor, the explorer, the traveler between suns, we must also become gentle. Curiosity must be paired with respect, discovery with humility, power with care. Because the moment a species steps into the cosmic address book, it becomes part of something larger, a thread in the fabric of countless worlds, a contributor to the legacy of the galaxy itself. And so, our future is not only a question of technology, but of character. Will we choose to expand peacefully, to explore with patience, to honor the quiet ecosystems of other worlds? Will we act as caretakers or conquerors? The universe leaves that decision to us. There is no map, no instruction, no guardian civilization telling us where to go or how to behave. The silence is a blank page, a space where our choices become the story. And in this moment, your breath slow, your body sinking into rest, you can imagine that future humanity not in grand, dramatic strokes, but in small gestures of wisdom. A spacecraft slowing to protect a fragile biosphere. A habitat sharing its knowledge with a young civilization. A moment of pause before altering a star system. A tradition of cosmic stewardship carried from world to world. These possibilities feel gentle, calm, hopeful. They suggest that intelligence need not burn brightly and disappear, but can endure, can grow, can become a long-lived presence in the galaxy, a quiet, stabilizing force like an ancient tree in a vast forest. And maybe, in trillions of years, when our sun is gone, when Earth is a memory, humanity, or whatever we have become, may still drift through the cosmos, shaped by the legacy of the first humans who wondered about the stars, holding the echo of this moment, this era, this fragile beginning. We may become the civilization that leaves signals for others, the builders of structures that orbit distant suns, the travelers who seed knowledge among the stars, the gentle visitors who inspire the next generation of dreamers. And if that happens, our existence may forever reshape the quiet tapestry of the Milky Way. Humanity becomes the presence other worlds detect, the faint pattern in starlight, the clue that someone has been here. We become the aliens of tomorrow, not strange, not fearsome, but simply the next step in the long, slow unfolding of universal curiosity. A species that looked up, listened, and then answered the silence by reaching out with care. The night has grown deeper, the world around you softer, quieter, as if the universe itself has leaned in to listen. Above you, in the silent dark, the sky stretches outward in all directions, a calm ocean of faint, ancient light, each star a quiet reminder that the cosmos is vast enough to hold both certainty and mystery, both knowledge and wonder, both questions and the gentle space to rest between them. And in this still moment, you can feel how the silence is not empty, but full of unanswered things, full of futures yet unimagined, full of possibilities that drift just beyond the reach of language. The universe does not rush. It does not demand that we solve its riddles in one lifetime, or even in one civilization. It simply offers its endless expanse, its quiet patterns, its patient unfolding, inviting us to look, to listen, to wonder, and then to let go. Because the beauty of a mystery is not only in the answer, but in the gentle presence of the unknown. The night sky has always been humanity's first teacher, a place where our ancestors stood in silence and felt something vast moving behind the stars, something calm, something steady, something ancient and accepting. You can feel that now, a sense of drifting into a softer world, a world where questions do not press against you, where there is no urgency, no edge, no need to grasp or reach, only the quiet rhythm of existence breathing around you. The silence of the cosmos is not a void, but a cradle, a place where thoughts can float freely, where curiosity can stretch without strain, where the mind can wander like a slow comet tracing its gentle arc around a distant star. And as you rest here, on the thin shore between waking and sleep, you can sense how the universe holds space for you, how it allows your small moment to be part of something immeasurably large, while still being tender enough to cradle a single breath, a single heartbeat, a single drifting thought. Perhaps the quiet is the message. Perhaps the absence of voices from other worlds is not loneliness, but invitation. A chance for us to grow into ourselves, to learn how to listen deeply, to understand our own planet, our own minds, our own fragile ecosystems, before reaching outward. In the soft dark, it becomes easy to imagine that the universe is unfinished, not incomplete, but open, like a canvas waiting to be shaped by the gentle brushstrokes of time and by the future beings who will one day look up from other worlds, feeling the same quiet wonder you feel now. And maybe they too will pause, rest, breathe, and sense the presence of something larger than their own experience, a thread of awareness connecting stars, civilizations, moments, and dreams. Sleep itself is a kind of journey, a drifting through inner constellations, a quiet folding of thoughts into softer shapes, a slow falling into a place where ideas become light and wonder becomes rest. The universe asks nothing of you now. It simply holds you gently, like one more star in its endless night, glowing softly, quietly, perfectly, exactly as you are. Let the silence wrap around you, let the calm settle deeper, let your breath fall into the same rhythm as the turning of distant galaxies, slow, patient, unhurried, a cosmic lullaby written in starlight. And as you drift, the final thought lingers softly, that the universe is not finished, and neither are we. There is beauty in not knowing, in resting inside the mystery, in feeling the quiet wonder of an unfolding cosmos that holds space for infinite futures, and for this moment, this breath, this gentle descent into sleep.